Hello and good morning guys, and welcome to another video. Today I want to show you how we can use mods like IMT and node controller to create really nice looking tram infrastructure, like for example this station that you're seeing right now. The tricks we'll be showing will also apply to, like, you can do custom train stations as well, but we're going to be showing it mostly in the terms of tram infrastructure. And yeah, basically let's get started. So out here we have this undetailed sort of tram loop on the edge of a map, right? And I want to do a few things with it. The first thing I want to do is I want to make it a little bit more. Now we can't see because these guys are in the way. I want to fix the track so it's more sort of straight here. That can be done with the mod node controller. We can select this segment end here because I'm using the old version of node controller. I have a segment end controller. This is definitely doable with the new version of node controller as well. The node controller renewal, it's even easier with that one. This is one of the things the new one is actually a lot better at, but it's just a few clicks. But still works, as you can see, works fine. And I think we'll do the same here, even though no, we won't, it's fine. We will, however, change the corner offset a bit here to get the catenary not being so weirdly angled a bit. Yeah, like that. Kind of like that. Maybe some just... Shouldn't have done that. It's fine. Okay. Sometimes we get greedy with the details. Let's just revert back. It's a bit of a tight curve, turn, but that's fine. Maybe we can fix it by sort of dragging this out just a little bit. Doing something like that instead. Yeah, I'm happy with that. The first thing I want to show you is this is a tram track, the vanilla tram track basically. It's concrete, it's a bit bland, it's fine, it looks decent enough honestly, but sometimes you would want to have a different style of, I don't know, surface underneath it. A most obvious, a very common thing, like in my hometown, the trams we have here, is they have actually grass underneath the tracks, and there's multiple ways you can do that. You can either do it with like network skins here and select like a dirt color underneath the tracks, assuming this dirt or destroyed texture is actually in your map theme is similar to the grass color. Otherwise it might look a bit meh. We can also gravel color it, which I think I want to show as well. I think actually we'll do it gravel colored for now, except for this part here, which will be this will be our station, I think, where our station is. Let's select this. Wait, gravel, yes. Let's gravel up these guys as well. And the node doesn't seem to behave as it's supposed to. Oh, it's fine. Sometimes we need to use surface painter then. Fill that out. The first thing I want to do now on this tram track here is I want to add sleepers for this part here that goes around. Like, so it becomes more like a light rail kind of line. And there are multiple ways to do this. We could either do this with actually just one single line in the middle and make it a double dashed line like that, and set the width to be quite large, offset to be almost as large, space length to be pretty small actually. And you can see how this is working actually. As we speak. Maybe the dash length is a little bit bigger and the distance is a bit smaller. Something like that. That looks pretty good, and we can do the color here. We can do whatever we want, but I think I have a solid color, and we could obviously like do like a very gray colored concrete style sleeper. And even do some transparency if we wanted it to sort of have some texture from the gravel underneath. That's an option. We could also do it like try to get a more brown texture, like as if these are wooden sleepers. I don't know what is the most common or what is the most sort of really what you should expect in these situations, but let's try something like that. That looks pretty decent for like a quick and dirty wooden sleeper setup. So that's one way of doing it with lines. Another way of doing it is, which I will show here on the junction, is using a filler. I kind of messed up there. I'll actually go in and copy this color because we'll use the color later. So here we need to have one invisible line on the edge first. Kind of forgot about that. Let's do the same there. So these lines here in the middle should be created by default. Okay, now we have a stripe filler here. Let's paste that color like this. And we'll go to more options and select follow guide. Look at that. You can do it either like this and turn it, or yeah, basically follow guide and we're good. Follow guide, and then we select these guys, the lines on the guide, the guidelines on the edge of the track to make it sort of align with the curve of it. So now the question is, what should be the values? Width needs to be a little bit less, I think. We're trying to match it with the ones we did over here. I think something like that's pretty good. The distance seems pretty good as well. So now we will use the offset from line thing here to make it go in like that. And there will be a little bit of a gap here. Sometimes you can get rid of that, but it's fine. In most cases, it's gonna work out great anyway. So now we have this one filler. Let's copy the whole filler by pressing copy here. Not copy here, we'll do that later. This is copy for the whole segment or node. Now we'll be using the copy here, which is just copying the actual filler. I love IMT. It is so good. It is so good. And now we can just paste this filler like that. And you can see it kind of doesn't align. Nope, because the follow guide thing doesn't really work. Let's do it like that. And voila, it works. And this filler here is super useful. We have it copied still. I will select a segment here. I will select this segment here. I will create a filler. I will paste it. And I will go in here and do so. Now you're thinking, oh, that's a pain having to do that every single time. Yeah, I know, but you don't have to. So now we can go in here, we can copy the whole segment like this. With a copy, Control-Shift-C, and then Control-Shift-V to paste it. But there's an even better way. Selecting one of these and going into the three dots and apply between intersections, or Control-Shift-G. Look at that. That is IMT light rail detailing. And we did this super quickly. This is less than 10 minutes so far. Oh my goodness. I'm kind of hype. We have created a light rail tram sleeper setup. And this is copyable everywhere. So we can copy this guy here, for example, and we can copy and paste it here if we wanted to. We can copy it here. You can see I have a different one set up already over here. We'd have to make it a bit, for this node here, we'd have to make it a bit, like, we wanted to connect it up here. We basically have to make a bit of a special one, but it's not hard. It's using the same things with overlap. If we want to overlap with sleepers, sometimes we don't want to. Maybe we should just make this a concrete node instead. But you can see it looks amazing. Another thing I want to show is if we actually delete this guy here, the stuff, the presets we had, and we go back and maybe we should keep it as, let's keep it as pavement actually. Let's see if we can do some grass fillers here instead, because we can also do grass fillers with IMT. We don't have to rely on network skins for that to work. We can do a grass like so. Now this is a rendered sort of filler, so it's not going to paint. It's actually going to have a sort of mesh or a model, if that makes any sense. So we find an elevation that works. 0.02 in this case is below the tram tracks, which is great. That's all we need. And I'm thinking here if we should try to do an offset from line here as well, because I think it could look pretty cool if we had like something like that. But then again, then we'd have to potentially worry about, you know what, it's fine. We'll copy this grass filler here and we'll delete everything and we'll just do it for the whole segment. If you haven't noticed that already, the game has actually received updates to the tram tracks, like the actual model of the tracks, so they look much better than they used to. So I feel like this is perfectly fine. Grass underneath the tram tracks, and you'd have some nice sidewalks. And we can copy and paste this as well, like that. Works perfectly. Transition. You could do some special transition if you wanted to, but just a side note on the grass tracks. Oh, that looks good though. So we've done everything except the thing I showed in the beginning, the station. So there are actually a few really good ways to make a neat looking vanilla tram station that you could apply even here. Basically, how I used to do it for the longest time was, now there's so many tram roads it's hard to find them, but what I used to do was to sort of just change the road type to this road when I did a tram stop, and you would get these kind of platform looking stations. It looks good enough, like it looks like it could be a tram station. If you have the pedestrian plaza promenade DLC, plazas and promenades, yes, I got it. You have these pedestrian roads here that work the same way, and honestly, for a vanilla way of doing tram stations, these look really good as well. So that's a side note on how to do this if you don't want to do what we're about to do with IMT. But back to the main event of the IMTing here. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this segment and we are going to drag a line in the middle of it with IMT and make it a prop line. Prop line is the way we can do so many things with prop line. It has so much to do with all the values you can change. You can change the angle, elevation, shift, step, even scale, the color of props, the offset before, after. And since I'm using the IMT beta version as well, I get the tilt and slope values as well. They might be added into the normal version at some point. I do not know what the status of that is, but I think they're only available in the beta version for now. But we're not going to use them anyway. We're going to use the other features. But yeah, we have a prop line, What should we start with? Let's start by making some shelters. I have a way. I have found something that works good. Like now I'm just searching here and I can find like any prop that I have in the game. If you're using mods and modded props, you can use them as well. And I'm gonna place a solar panel, horizontal solar panel, which I think might be from one of the DLCs, or maybe it's vanilla. I'm not entirely sure, but it's in my game. I'm going to use it. What I did was I elevated it up, raised it up a bit using the elevation slider here, scrolling my scroll wheel, and shifting it to the side. So it's still connected to the middle line, but we're shifting it to side. This is going to make things a little bit easier and a little bit more flexible in a bit, hopefully. We'll see. I think we'll scale this up to like 250 or so. And now we can change the step here, so it's something like that. I want these things to for a cleaner look to sort of match, so I'm gonna reduce the step so that they just do that. 9.7. But now you see we get this sea fighting effect here, which is annoying. But a way I've found to fix that is you go into the scale setting here and you select range, because you can even do a range of scales. This is just like so powerful. And look, if we change just the scale a tiny little bit, you cannot see it. There is no way you can find it, but it will remove, in my testing, all the sea fighting every time. So that's beautiful. You can see it's still clipping the trams, which is not wanted. So we'll use the shift value to offset it a bit more. And since I'm big on nerding, I want to lower it so it doesn't clip the catenary supports as well. So we will lowering it to maybe something like so. Seems okay. Let's do one step more. Yes. No, one step up. Okay, here, good. Here you can select the color variant, and we can do variants, which I don't. It depends on what prop it is, but I usually use. You can use the random, but I usually use the custom one. And let's do something bluish, I guess. See, there's no sea fighting. There's sea fighting when we were previewing the color, but now it seems to be fine. Okay, good. Now this thing is sort of hanging in midair now. It's a little bit awkward. It's fine. It's a little bit awkward, but let's add some pillars to it. Oh, actually, before we add some pillars, I'm gonna copy here. I'm gonna copy the line. I'm gonna scroll down and paste another one. So now we have 2 of these lines. Nope, we don't have. I failed. Add rule. Now we have 2 lines. And I copy this line here and paste it. So now there will be 2 of these in the exact same location. But for one of these, I can change the value of shift here. Just change it from a negative value to a positive value. And the angle, we can rotate it 180 degrees, like that. And then we get the exact copy on the other side, which is pretty nice. Let's add another rule. So we'll be adding a lot of rules to this network, but it might be a bit sort of tricky to keep up. Let's see if we can make the IMT window bigger for it, actually. So the next rule we'll be adding is some kind of pillar. I think there's something called a tram pole or something like that. Ooh, what is that guy? Modern park street lamp. Interesting. I think we're gonna use the tram pole. It is a tram. What is that? Ooh. Interesting. Just finding all the props. Tram. Okay, let's just do a normal pole. This is a pole. It's a stick, basically. And we're gonna offset it to one side. Doesn't matter which one for now. found some sea fighting. Does that mean this guy didn't copy the values? Let's add one more sort of level in the variation. In the variation to scale, because that's going to give us some more robustness. I'm pretty sure you won't be able to spot it anyway. Yeah. Okay, back to the poles. Let's put it in the middle, like that's great. We can do a pretty large step, I feel like. Or should we? Tricky. Oh, actually, one thing we also want to do with these roofs before we move on. I want to do some offset before and after. So let's do that just to the same values on each side. Like 10 and 10 maybe. So like setting it to 10 and 10. It basically decides how far in you have to go until it starts, so from the segment end. So it's gonna make things a little bit nicer maybe. We will use that a bit more when doing like fences and such. So the tram pole here is still doing that. That's curious, despite my best efforts. Well, you know what? Sometimes maybe we just need to go to the extremes of 3 degrees difference in, or 3% difference in scale. Hopefully that works. Tram pole. Okay, hello tram pole, my old friend. Let's do 10 meters. More options. Let's do offset before after 10 also. Or actually, let's do it like 5. I'll try to find it so that the tram poles are on the end. This might be a bit tricky. No, not like that. I think it needs to be maybe 7, maybe 8. That's a little bit of a frustrating jump right there, but you know what? It's fine. It's fine. We could align this all we want, but for our purposes today, this will be fine. And let's lower it down so it doesn't stick up. Elevation like that. And we'll copy this line again and add a rule. Just adding rules and change the shift. No, elevation. Changing the shift value here. So it's instead of 5, it's -5. And then we get the same poles on the other side. Now it's structurally supported. This is great. What else could we do to this tram stop? What is the next thing, rather? You guessed it, we're gonna add a line. And this line will be a prop line as well. And the prop line is going to be, in this case, I think let's add a fence. So there are several fences we can use. Like the modern, what's it called? Modern fence, I think, would look pretty cool. Or one of the modern fences, anyway. This one has a bit of a thing on the top. Let's try this one. I used a glass fence for the other tram station, which might match the roof a bit better, but we can always change it once we get it into place also, so. Okay, so this guy here, if you lower it, we could get a fence like that, but let's actually see that glass fence. I want to see the glass fence. I think it'd be a shame if we didn't use the glass fence. Yeah. A shame it wouldn't be, but this one looks so good. It's from the modern, mid-century modern pack. And we need to rotate this one 90 degrees, and the step needs to be aligned, so they don't clip too much. So something like that. Let's give it some more options. Let's do offset before or after, like 5. Or actually, let's do even more. Let's do 10 here. Let's go extreme here. You know what? Let's do even more. Let's do 15. No, nah, cold feet. Let's do 12. Sort of matches the roof that way. That's nice. Great. So the next thing, the next thing here would of course be to copy this rule to a new, or this line to a new rule on the other side again. Shift is 7. Let's do shift -7. Get it on the other side. Yeah, it's starting to look pretty good. Let's add actually another fence. Another line of fences. I'm just gonna add a rule and copy the fences we already had. But these fences will be less offset, less shifted, so this is sort of the fences that prevent you from crossing in the wrong location, is my imagination anyway. And this would be added by doing a actually, this one will be like a lot of these, but it's fine. Let's do 1 for one side and like scroll this a lot up to the other side. 70 maybe. Ah, come on. Okay, 55 and 8 meters and you know what? 8 meters and 69. It seems I can't avoid it. It's going to be 69. Now we copy this and we add a rule and we paste it, and instead here of just changing the shift value, you know what, we might as well change the shift value first, because then we get it on this side also. The next thing to do would be to add another rule and copy it again. And now, instead of changing the shift value, we would just invert these, so it would be 69 and 8. Because then we should get the same, yeah, we get it over here instead also. And this one we can copy and add rule and paste. We're still using the center line for IMTing here. This is there's 10 rules already on this line, but with props you can add how many you want, and you can offset them, and you can do all sorts of crazy things. So it's pretty great. And since this is a tram station, you wouldn't use this in so many locations. It's kind of fine. It doesn't really add that much more of a performance load than if you would do all this work manually anyway. So you can see it's still doing some sea fighting, but I'm just gonna ignore it for now. And the trick is to add more scale, basically. Okay, we have fencing. Let's do some seating now. Let's do some seating. Add a rule, a prop. Let's do bench. Something. Let's do some park bench. Those look pretty good, actually. Yeah, let's do those. And we'll put them up like against the glass. I'm not sure how. Maybe they should realistically be sort of between the pillars, but then we'd have to align them so that they don't clip the pillars, which is absolutely possible. Actually, they do that already. They perfectly align. So as long as we don't mess anything up, yeah, let's just do that. 10 and 10. But actually, let's do more. Let's do like 16 and 16. Let's see. And instead of step 5, let's do step 10 and see what happens. Now we get 1 between each pillar. That's great. It doesn't feel like overbenched. We could do the same with trash cans. I don't think I'm gonna do trash cans here, though. It's you get the point. The point comes across at this rate. We'll do the shift again to copy them over here, and these we also need to rotate using angle. So we'll angle it 180, facing the right way. Or I mean, like, you could face them the other way if you wanted to, I suppose. But the next thing we could do here is we could add one of those sort of lines that sort of, we could work with textures. So we can do decals and stuff like that with IMT as well. Obviously we can paint the network, but one option would be to use these lines here, which we haven't used at all. Like, we haven't used these for anything, to create a sort of line filler, and we can make it wide. We could make it like maybe a yellow colored. I don't know, for some reason I like to make these yellow colored. You can also move this line a little bit so that it's only on the sort of top of the pavement, the top of the platform. And let's see here. Get a bit darker maybe. Something like that. It's a little bit annoying how it goes all the way over here though. And I have another plan for these lines, so I would want to move them somewhere else. I don't think we're going to use this in this situation, but you know, it's nice. It's a possibility. If you really want to do a very easy, very low effort and less complicated tram stop, you could easily use those as well. Since every prop we have is sort of aligned with the center line anyway, it doesn't matter. We can do whatever we want with these points here. We can hold on control and move them. That's what I'm doing here. So let's set these to 0 again, and let's do a middle line here. Yes, middle line, and we'll add a rule yet again, and I'm gonna make it a prop. And this time we're gonna use, that modern fence, because if you haven't already sort of noticed, the props are very flexible because you have all these options with them. You have more options with the props than you have with the actual lines, so we could put this into the ground kind of as just sticking up a tiny little bit, maybe 0. That's just at the limit. That is perfect. And we can also, with more options, we can also recolor this one. So it can be black, it can be yellow. Let's do it yellow. And it even gives us some nice texture. And maybe most importantly, why we do this, we can also offset this from the edges. So maybe like, I don't know what it would be, but maybe 13 and maybe 14 seems pretty good. So it's sort of indicated where the actual platform, where you would board is, and this is like no crossing here, please. I don't know tram stops, but it feels like something you could do. And same as before, you could just copy this line and add a rule and paste it and change the sign before shift. And we get yellow on both sides. It's perfect. I also told you guys about decals. We can do decals here. So let's do that. Let's add another rule yet again. Let's add another rule. See, we are starting to really come up with a lot of rules here, but I haven't noticed any performance impact from like using many rules. Performance impact comes from when you're trying to get too many objects in and too many tries. and such. But too many rules? I don't think there is too many rules, honestly. There obviously will be a limit, but I haven't reached it yet. Let's see here what kind of tiles we could use, or sort of decal there. Maybe this tiles I should be searching for. Tiles? Yard tiles. Yeah. Looks a little bit vanilla though. Zoo ground tiles. I'm wondering if we shouldn't use these, honestly. And we can put them to the side yet again. There's actually probably a possibility we could do it in a different way. But this, yeah, you know what? No, we'll do it. We'll do it this way. We'll put them to the side. We'll go and find the scale value again. And we'll scale them down so that they just fit here. Okay, perfect. Like 50%. Okay, 48%, never mind. Because I really want to have even values, and just take the step down. 3.8 seems to have it perfectly, and we copy this line and we add rule, and we paste it. And this time we shift it back to the other side. Ta-da! Like maybe we actually change the color of these as well so that they don't sort of look as much as the gravel. You can even do the transparency here, which is pretty cool. With the decals, that is. Let's do them... I don't entirely know, but let's try to make them stand out a little bit from the sort of gravel of the train. The gravel of underneath the tracks anyway. Let's take this color here, we can copy it, and we can go here, more options, and do the same thing here, paste it. So that looks pretty good. You could like do crossings as well here, I think. If you get a node anyway, you can do, should be able to do crossings. But that is pretty much it, and look at it, it looks beautiful. The very nice thing about this is that this is completely procedural, so look at that. If we just move it and curve it, and as long as we haven't used stuff in a weird way, it will curve around super nicely like this. We can make curved stations. I don't know how common it is to make tram stations that are curved though, at least the modern ones, but look at that. Just works too good to be true almost. We can also use the copy and paste feature here. And if we wanted another station like over here, we could paste it. Sometimes you might have to change some of the settings with the different lines for them to work. For example, in this case, those extra fences disappeared because this is such a short segment, but other than that, this works perfect. It's a shorter segment, so it would be a shorter station, and you can have one here over here as well. You can copy and paste them as much as you want. So you only really have to do this setup like for one station, and then you can reuse it over and over and over again, how many times you want. You can even, now this is the sort of the big brain move here. You can even do this to create custom train stations, and I will show you. We can use it for custom train stations. I'm gonna make a spur out of this train line here. Can we get rid of? Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be pretty. It has to work. And there we got a nice little spur. And if you have a mod find it, or picker for that matter, it is possible to use... I'm using Picker now, actually, to select a network here. I think you might have to have Find It in combination. It's a safer bet to have Find It, honestly. You can search for train station track. And you will find, depending on like which DLCs you have, a few different tracks. But even in the vanilla game, there's 1 or 2 at least. The train station track Elevated and the train station track Normal. Elevated one is actually pretty cool. It doesn't matter really. We'll use the normal one. This, by the way, the same trick works for monorail and metro as well. There's station tracks for all these kinds of things, so you can do it. Basically, what we're doing for a train station here can be done for monorail, metro, or actually not for monorail because monorail doesn't have IMT support. But you can make custom monorail stations using the, what do you call it? The Find It mod. And this train station here, you can connect it up, and you can see it works by this snapping thing here. When it snaps, it works, it connects. That means passengers can access it from the sidewalk. And to prove this, I'm just going to place a few random buildings so we get some traffic out this way. Okay, so that should do it. Don't mind them clipping the trees, by the way. So, we can select our metro or our tram setup here, station setup, and select the train station track and paste it. And voila. Except the fact that the train station is a little bit wider, so you would want to widen things. Perfect. And here is the neat thing. We kept these outer points here completely unused. So we can use these guys here, because the trains would have a higher elevation to the platform. So we could use these to create actually a pavement line and make it a lot higher. Like 0.85. I think it's even that high. And make this, of course, like a lot wider, maybe even 5. And yeah, you can see we'd need to raise all the other props as well to match it if we wanted to have the perfect sort of fit here. But let's do it -2 here and do it 2 here. And the standardization width would be like 4.7. Copy this line. We'll drag out another rule here and we'll paste that line. We'll select these points and make them 2 offset and -2 offset, like so. And basically now we set up a train line here. We might actually want to do it this way. Will make things a little bit easier. You don't have to drag out the whole line from scratch. Ah, yes, like so. So this here connecting the train lines to the sort of outside connection network is a neat trick, by the way. You should try that. Instead of relying on the random outside connections, this is a great way to make reliable scheduled traffic to the outside, because these outside connection pieces act as a train station. So here you see the platform is very short, the train station track is very short. We need to make it a little bit longer to fit the trains, so let's just do that, drag it out. And you can see, yeah, we'd probably need to raise all the props for it to match, but since we made this for the trams and just copied it over, works pretty good. Yeah, you get the idea anyway. This is great. Oh my god, the snug fit here. Oh my goodness, that's so close. Yeah, you get the idea. And you can see it works. People are at least coming here to wait for the train. The train despawned, probably because the train station track was too small and I changed it while it was being used. Let's see if, yeah, we can get it to work. Yes. People walk onto the train and yes, they go on their way. And people probably jump off, hopefully. Come on. Maybe not yet. Oh my goodness, this is a mess. Let's make it a little bit longer still. Keep in mind when you're making train stations like this that you need somewhere in your train network a actual train station building that acts as a depot for trains to spawn. If you only have train stations of this kind on your map, you won't get any trains to spawn. And these are also not functional with intercity traffic, so you need to actually have a line on them. So it needs to be, or needs to, it should be long enough for the trains to sort of pull in and be able to take the switch back out. But it also kind of needs to be, it can't be too long, because too long networks, train station track networks, like I think it's longer than 25 tiles or so, will cause problems and will sort of bork out and just not work and be super confusing. And I've had that like several times happen to myself and like friends, and we always get so confused, always forget about that. But there is a max length to a station track segment, which is good to know about. Okay, so nobody seems to be using it anymore. They were using it just now. It's just not very popular. I could see people going down here though. Yeah, there's like one person is taking the bike here. And yeah, I mean, yeah, trust me, this works. Yeah, you can see them now. Might want to make some better solution there. Maybe using the park life paths to create a better ramp kind of thing. Could even match them sort of in height. It's not a big deal, it's fine. So I was talking a little bit about this node here, the switch node. It's weird how the sleepers disappear. There's two separate ways to fix this, and I bet you can think of one of them after watching this video. Yes, it is using IMT on the train tracks, like in this way, for example. Let's do follow guide, and let's do the offset from lines thing, and change the color to something brownish. Okay, the train is actually in the way now. Okay, pause the game. you know, doing something like that. There's also possibilities to do these sleepers with props actually, but I wouldn't recommend doing that in a larger scale, because that might actually, if you do that and like with props, that will be a lot of rendered objects if you decide to do it over a whole network, for example. So I would be cautious using props for it, but it works fine like just for connections like this. So that's an option. We can of course take this filler and we can copy it over to the other side like so, and do the thing again. Yeah, something like that. Another thing you might want to do sometimes is you want to create like crossover tracks and such. Like for example, in this situation where the train tracks are approaching the train station, you can do that with IMT using a little trick that I figured out. The problem is here you're limited with the amount of points, so we couldn't do this. We need to be a bit clever here, and the way I've figured out to do this is you can do some offsetting of the points, holding down control and moving them, and basically using fillers to the max, or using fillers the most they can be used. So I'm gonna offset these guys 0.3 and minus 0.3 respectively, and take this guy here and offset it 6 meters, and do the same on this side, 6 meters from there, the red point, and this green one goes 0.3, yeah, I said 0.3 and minus 0.3. Because now we can create a filler like this, a stripe filler, more options, follow guide, and we can offset it from lines as we've done before, and we can paint it in something that reminds us of train tracks maybe. Like somewhere there maybe. It needs to be opaque, I think. Ah, yeah, okay. And now we can create another filler here using the middle point and one of the outer points only, and making that a pavement filler, because the pavement filler is pretty similar to the train tracks, honestly. And then we can make it thinner using the offset from lines and elevation value to take it down, and we can copy this and copy this filler and create another one and paste it, and now we have good looking, I mean decent looking crossover tracks. The texture will be wrong, and the texture might actually be very wrong depending on what map theme you're using, because this is a pavement theme, but I think it's a neat trick anyway. And if you want this crossover to go in the other direction, like for example here, we can copy and paste it, and we can invert it using this guy here, or actually we need to invert it there, yeah. So that's a neat way of making non-functional but aesthetic crossovers if you're a nerd like me who cares about that kind of stuff. So I also noticed that I actually previously placed a train station here, or a vanilla cargo train grain. I placed a train using IMT here, basically. So this is just a long line of props, of train car props, which is another way you can use IMT to detail your train depots and rail yards. I will say there's no way to sort of randomize different types of cars, so it's a little bit, it's not as satisfying. But if you know that you want to place, like, if you only want to do like an oil train, for example, then you could easily do, an oil train here. Vanilla oil cargo train, like that. Looks good. something that is really neat about this station that I just noticed, by the way, is how good it matches the vanilla metro and the vanilla metro, how do you say it? The vanilla metro train station hub thing here. Or the vanilla, I don't know if it's this one. This one is vanilla though. Where does it come from? No, it's a Sunset Harbor asset, okay. But definitely the above ground metros here. They're all the same style. So, like, look at that. That's pretty close, right? So you could use the exact same thing here and do that to the metro tracks. Metro tracks may be even easier. Maybe you don't even have to do the sleepers. Maybe you want to add the sleepers to the metro track. Maybe that's something you want. And I mean, obviously now you can just copy like that, and it should work, but it didn't. Let's try this. Yeah, you can do sleepers. You can do sleepers with IMT on that segment, absolutely. Can you do it on the elevated one though? You should be able to do it. I just realized I've never really tried it. Doesn't seem to do anything right now using that way, which is pretty interesting. It could be that this just works differently, but in that case, if you want to have like sleepers on a metro track, like you could, on an elevated metro track, you could use another type of filler. You could use like let's do this. Let's do it this way. Let's do a filler like that and make it like gravel, and we can lower it down. So it's basically 0. That's good. Or actually not. Yeah, I should have expected it would sea fight when I fixed it. Let's do like 0.01. Sometimes you get sea fighting when it's close. So, and instead of doing the lines here, you might actually have to do it with props now. So you could do a prop, and you could do like a bench. I like to use the beer garden bench, but actually, shout out to my friend New Agent who tipped me off of this trick here. It's called a shopping cart shelter. This is New Agent's idea. We're discussing these things a week ago or so, and I haven't tried it myself, but I think it could work really well. Step it down. More options because we need a scale. Shouldn't have done that until... Yeah, the scale needs to be small, but not too small. Maybe 25%, and shifting it back. And doing a step smaller, elevation. Oh, I wonder if... Is it 85? I think it's 85. 0.85. 0.87? I don't know what I'm doing anymore. It's 0.9, right? No? Oh, it's less. So it's... Okay, 0.8, like 2 maybe. 0.81? It doesn't look great, honestly. It doesn't look the greatest, but maybe the scaling. Maybe there's some more scaling to do, actually. The step can be increased to like 1, maybe. There's a lot of fine-tuning here. And what if it's like 75? Yeah, that's pretty close to it. That's pretty close. And of course, since this is a prop, you can recolor it. Like, recolor it. sleeper color if you wanted it like that. You could recolor it grayish if you wanted it to be concrete. And it is at least kind of rendered. This is a bit curved roof, which is very useful for it. So it makes it easier to scale it and find different combinations that work. Now I'm just keep figuring out these cool things, but coming to think about these cool things. New Agent also figured out that you could use, like for this third rail here, the yellow one, you could basically use this same modern fence we used here. And other assets probably. You could probably use a lot of assets to connect the third rail in junction. So if you want to have like, you know, you could connect the third rail basically using props as well. I think, oh my god, I learned something new during this video. I'm absolutely sure about that. It's like 1 hour long. I think it's worth it. This is I didn't know how I was supposed to make this video in shorter time, honestly. We talked about making IMT tram infrastructure in many different ways. We talked about how you can apply the same principles to train and metro. We talked some about, I mean, we touched on a lot of things. We touched on the outside connection even by accident and such, but yeah, we did a lot of things, and hopefully you're not too bored, and hopefully you learned something as well. I don't know, if you like this video, like and subscribe, and I guess I will see you next time. Yeah, this has been me doing the tram stuff.